Hello there. Thank you for staying with us. Mapito Sibidi with the AM News. Time for us to do the newspapers. I've got two Josephs. One was sold. Okay, no, not quite. Two of them. Akablaze in studio, and then Opoku Gakpo will join us via Zoom in a bit. Okay, hello.
Hi.
Were you sold?
No. I'm thinking. I'm trying to record the.
You're trying to be smart because you're trying to figure out if you are sold, then you come and redeem us, something like that. So do you want to be that person?
I'm in Pharaoh's house now. I'm in Pharaoh's house now. So. And I'm done with the prison too. So I'm now Prime Minister.
What do you mean in Pharaoh's house? This is no Pharaoh's house. So what's Pharaoh's wife? Don't be that. Joseph Opoku Gakpo, if you're on, good morning.
Mavi, good morning. I hope you had a good night.
In what?
In my case, I'm the father of Jesus. You've just given birth to Jesus Christ. So he's just a few weeks old, and so I'm changing diapers and so I've been busy.
You've been busy, huh? Well, thank God for not sending Mary away, even though she cheated on you. Otherwise, there won't be.
You know me, I'm a kind guy, so I don't have a problem with it.
Seriously, guys, think about it. If you were Joseph in 2021 and your fiance that you're going to get married to had come back, and or you had discovered that she was pregnant, would you believe in some miracle, some angel somewhere?
Well, it's funny with all the biblical narrative that we have. I mean, trust me, in 2020 it will still be very difficult to accept. And then she'll be telling you that I had a dream and I saw some angel somewhere. Oh goodness, no. You're not accepting that at all.
Oh, original Joseph, Mary's husband.
I hope Akablaze is not casting doubt on the biblical account of.
I'm speaking to the question. I'm speaking to the question I was asked.
One thing I am certain of is that even if I didn't believe the story, I would have acted the same way that Joseph acted.
Hey!
Oh, trust me, believe me.
Really?
Yes. June bonds are like that. We are that kind of.
Oh, as for me and Akablade, we accept that we've been saved by grace. It's the grace of God. We're not good like you. So thank God for people like you, Joseph Opoku Gakpo. Okay, guys, let's do the newspapers. I have the Daily Graphic, Republic Press. Opoku Gakpo, what papers would you be looking at?
I have the Daily Dispatch. I have the Finder as well. And then a couple of others.
Okay.
Yes, so I have both of them. All
right, let me start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, sale of educational materials bounces back after 9 months of school closure. Stakeholders support GSA on enforcement. NPP, NDC battle ready. Battle is in court. They litigate over 16 parliamentary seats. We'll be going over some of the seats that they are contesting in the center spread. GES launches back to school campaign. Africa ready to implement after, according to the Secretary General. Former President Rawlings burial January 27. So the late former President Jerry John Rawlings will be laid to rest at the new military cemetery at La in Dade Kotopon municipality in the Greater Accra region on January 27 this year. State funeral and pre-burial service will be held at the former president at the of a public health reference laboratory in the region to avert the huge number of deaths that occur whenever there is an outbreak of cerebral spinal meningitis. And Kumasi records 4 fire incidents within 72 hours. That's unthinkable. The capital of the Ashanti region has within 72 hours recorded 4 fire incidents that have destroyed property worth millions of cedis. That is one of our big conversations on the AM show, as the National Fire Service in Kumasi, they will be joining the conversation a bit later on. So that's it for the Daily Graphic. Who goes next?
Let me do the front page of the Daily Guide before Joseph comes in. The front page says Jubilee freezes new contracts. That's a photograph of Akosua Frema Osei Opari, the Chief of Staff. MMDCs remain at post, and governing boards dissolved. And Formina MP decides majority, also on the front page. And Rollins burial, 27th January, is also on the front page of the Daily Guide. The back page has the story about Yao Preku taking over Olympics. And the Salah shows village love also on the back page. And West Ham appoint Porn Star to their board.
Okay. Porn Star?
Yeah, P-O-R-N. Oh, I'm not seeing well. That's what is written there. Yeah. Let me read a paragraph. They said West Ham have appointed...
Of course you will.
Ivole, a director of... Okay, so it goes on and on. But that is the story on the back page of the Daily Guide. I'll quickly do the Ghanaian Observer. And then we go to Joseph. What? The Ghanaian Observer on the front page says Chief of Staff deserves second term in office is from Abu Jinapo, a former Deputy Chief of Staff. I'm hopeful of MPP NDC cooperation, Akufo-Addo says so. And COVID-19 fight, more private schools in Central Region benefit from reopening disinfection. And Statesman editor gets applause for philanthropic works. And top lawyer schools, NDC's Haruna Idrisu over caretaker ministers saga. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Observer, Joseph.
Opoku Gakpo, go ahead.
And so I have the Daily Dispatch, and then I have the Finder. Let's begin with the Daily Dispatch. The Daily Dispatch is very heavy on issues having to do with the upcoming election petition. There is a reference to something that they did back in 2012, 2013, and the headline goes as follows: 2012 election petition at Supreme Court, a research on its impact on Ghanaians. So the Daily Dispatch is bringing us that specifically. Well, the Finder as well has a front page that's heavy on a number of issues, including COVID-19. For example, no wearing of masks. It says Ghanaians give weird reasons for disregarding COVID-19 protocols. You know, there is that very interesting story as well from JoyNews. Judith Aochitando did that story that aired this morning about, you know, a lot of the folks in the market saying that they've not seen people who've been infected by the virus before, which is their reasons for ignoring the COVID-19 protocols. I'll get into this story on the page 5 of the Finder in a while, but other stories on the front page, Benche Enchil Lecture and Ankuma ranked best law firm in Ghana, and it comes with a picture of lawyer Ankuma, who is one of the very key legal practitioners in the country. There's another story on the front page of the Finder. Transition Act makes acting ministers legal. That's according to Kojo Ponkroma, the former information minister. You know, he is responding to claims by the leader of the NDC caucus in Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, that there is nothing like acting minister. He's responding to that and insisting that there is nothing wrong with that. And then NDC seeks Supreme Court review of Amewu judgment. I'll read a bit of details on that for you in a while. But then there are other stories on the front page. 2 newborn sickle cell screening centers open at the Rage and 37 military hospitals. And there's the other story about Frema Osei Opari, the Chief of Staff. And the story says diligent Chief of Staff deserves to be retained. That's according to Abu Jinapo, who is a member of Parliament now. But let me bring you details of the story about the NDC seeking a review of the Supreme Court's decision. And there is actually details of that as contained in the Finder newspaper. Professor Margaret Kweku, who is the NDC parliamentary candidate for Hohoe, said that she and 4 others have today filed a case at the Supreme Court seeking a review of an application that they had taken to the court on the 5th of January to quash the orders of the High Court in Hohoe, which made the 23rd December 2020 ruling, which, you know, by the Hohoe High Court seeking to restrain Peter Amewu from holding himself out as MP and null and void directive. So that review is expected to happen. And according to the very first ground, as far as the review that they filed is concerned, they're saying that the Supreme Court fundamentally erred when it referred to the right to vote as provisions failing within the directive of state principles under the Constitution. So that is there. Joseph Akable, we wait to see what exactly the Supreme Court will do. But usually the argument is made that reviews don't make so much of a difference because a lot of the judges who sit on the case are individuals who already sat on the case as had been previously adjudicated, right, Joe?
Yes, and so in this instance, you had 5 judges who ruled 5-0, and so you have 2 judges who joined them for the review, and the point needs to be made that, I mean, the window is a very small window. You need to show that there was some error that the court ought not to have made, and so it's not something that easily goes through that way. And it will mean again that you have to convince the 2 new judges and get some of the other 5 to change the earlier position. What I find interesting is that just 2 days ago, they also filed at the Hohoe Court an election petition, which is the point that the Supreme Court had made in this decision that they are seeking a review, that the appropriate thing if they wanted to challenge Mr. Amewu's election was to have filed an election petition. And so I find it quite interesting that they've taken that advice and filed an election petition, and now going a step further to again seeking to review the Supreme Court's decision that gave that particular directive. And so it's quite interesting. I mean, clearly they are using all alternatives. Let's see how this will go.
There's also the Takwa and Swayam challenge there. It looks like for a while we'll see a lot of, cases in court on the parliamentary, even as we concentrate on the main one, the presidential.
Yesterday I counted about 7 of them.
Yeah. So there's Hohoe, there's Takwa and Swayam.
There is Buem, there is Techiman South, there is Pusiga.
There's Savelugu,
yes,
that's
Savelugu as well, and a couple of others. I mean,
oh wow, that's a lot.
The problem really, I've been going through the rules, and I don't seem to find a timeline, as is the case for the Supreme Court, and so that is very challenging, because there is the case of Ayawaso West Wagon in the late 90s, where the person who won legitimately was not declared as the winner, and he challenged in court, and by the time he finished with the case, the person who was illegitimate had finished 7 the entire term, and so the decision of the court was of no effect, and that's the problem I find in this one. And so the Supreme Court would have decided, and a lot of these petitions will remain pending.
So I tried to look at the manual, the latest manual for the 2020 elections, and I didn't quite see that, and I think that is still something that must be worked on. So hopefully in the next manual that will be addressed. Joseph, you wanted to say something?
There is Kintampo North as well, which is a very interesting case because the NPP candidate is not challenging the outcome of the elections. All he's saying is that the NDC candidate who won back in, I think, 2013 or so, had been found guilty of engaging in corrupt activities per the work of a committee that was established to look into the ghost on the payroll of the National Service Scheme. You remember that story that JoyNews broke in, I think, 2013. Eventually, the said gentleman, according to the petition, was found to have misappropriated allegedly to the tune of 95,000 Ghana cedis. And so he says until that outcome of the committee's report is set aside, the gentleman cannot hold himself out, cannot even contest to be an MP for the next 10 years. And it's on those grounds that he's asking that the court declares him invalidly elected and declare he the NPP candidate rather the MP for the area.
Okay,
it's an interesting case that we need to see how they are.
Very interesting. So that's the 8th one. I guess the 9th one will be the Asing North issue. That's the Asing North issue.
Which also relates to eligibility issues.
Yeah.
And there's one story in the paper that says that a criminal complaint has been, a petition has been sent to the police CID asking that it investigates him for possible perjury among other crimes as well. And yesterday on the show, on AM show, Benjamin spoke to a lawyer who was making a point that these petitions show that the political parties, the Electoral Commission, and state agencies like the NIB, the National Investigations Bureau, Intelligence Bureau, they didn't seem to have done a very good job in the period preceding the elections, because all these are matters that ideally in the best of things, there should be a formal report on each person who files to contest. That clears you of all the bottlenecks. And so at this material moment, when someone was actually going to file those documents, all you have to do is to produce that particular document. There should be a file that shows that one, Mama Biosu Abaje is more than 18 years of age or is more than 24 as is required, is of sound mind, which we don't actually even check for. And whether the person does not have allegiance anywhere.
Don't get personal.
but I'm sure you agree with the substantive issue.
Oh, no. Of course I do.
Yes,
I do, absolutely.
There should be a comprehensive report that says you've not committed any crime. All of that, like, it should be available. It's not the case that someone just declares, and now you now have to have political parties members who are unhappy that they have lost an election, now fishing for information to check and bringing it out. It's the work of the EC and the state agencies to come up with such a report. Should be available even before the person is allowed to contest.
Yeah. Listen, I've said this. It's so easy to say people should go to court, but I've said that even when they go to court and they don't win, essentially because you want to go to court and win, I still feel that there will be some words said to the Electoral Commission which will not be nice. You know, they will tell you what you should have done and how you didn't do your work, you didn't do your administrative work. And I say that in itself will be an indictment. So for you to be talked down, I mean, you've been to courts. You know how sometimes the judges are so upset, not because necessarily somebody broke some law, but how you didn't do your job. Like, you didn't do the work that you were supposed to do diligently the way you should have done. And it's so obvious on the face that you didn't do your work. And the way they talk to you. And I hope that even as observers, those of us who will be reporting, we can highlight on those things. So that it's not just the ruling, like, oh, what did they say? The final,
yeah.
Exactly, not just the conclusion, but the real things that they say, even about the Electoral Commission, because that will go a long way. 2024, I mean, it's not just, oh, if you're unhappy, go to courts. But there are some fundamental issues that they should have done in the first place. Hopefully these all comes out. But there's the NCCE in the Daily Graphic condemning the drama in Parliament. There's 5 NGOs calling for live telecast of election petition proceedings. Akable, you've been going to court. It's their call to make, even though it's in black and white. But they have to finally make the decision if this is going to go live or not. But we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Just we're a long way away from there. Tomorrow there's the decision on the correction
of mistakes,
isn't it?
Yeah, that's what is the business for the day. Then afterwards, the MPP's, Nana Akufo-Addo's legal team, the president's legal team, will have to also notify the court of the initial objection that they have.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting objection, which could end up, I mean, getting a matter thrown out completely, depending if the court agrees with that view. And so that's also an important one that would have to be dealt with. They are asking the court to fix a date for legal arguments on it. And it's interesting, the crux of it, they are relying on the case that Tony Later argued some years back. It's Metununu versus the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
It had to do with a declaration that Afarijan had done, the instrument announcing the president-elect, John Ajikun Kufuor at the time, that they said they didn't attach the results of the elections to. So at the Ghana Publishing Company. And the Supreme Court back then said that, I mean, what is required in terms of the gazetting is just to say that Mama Biosu Abaje is the president-elect and the signature, that's all. Because the results are declared across the country, they need not attach it to the Gazette. And so the MPP's argument is that the declaration that the EC does on TV is actually not a declaration. And so they are not challenging the validity of the election as the Constitution says you should challenge, i.e. what takes place in all the polling stations across the country. They are making reference to the things the EC chairperson said, which the MPP says is not known to law. The NDC disagrees, and Tony Later, like I said, argued that Metununu case. And this is an initial objection that they are asking the court to fix a date to listen to. So it will be very interesting to
Very interesting. Also similar to the initial objection that the Electoral Commission also raises.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the same point.
Okay, but there's no dates for that?
They have
the minds are the same on this level, but there's no dates for that.
No, so they are now going to bring it to the attention of the court and ask that a date should be fixed for the legal arguments to be.
I was reading about composition of the court, but I was thinking, has there been something like that?
We've not seen that yet. On day 1, which is tomorrow, we'll know who the panel members are. And we know that in 2012, 2013, the Chief Justice then didn't join. I'm not too sure that CJ Niniabua will stay away from this one this time around because of what we've seen happen over the years. He works very hard and he is mostly on the very top of the places, but we don't know whether he would want to be a part of it.
Okay. My last newspaper, Republic Press, and I'll just do what's the banner headline really. You are a sick mind. A sick mind is in quotes, says Che Mensah hits General Mosquito. So it says Member of Parliament for Swame, leader of NPP caucus in 8th Parliament, Osei Mensah Bonsu, is angry over attempt to link him to the ballot paper snatching episode in Parliament, an incident that sends many tongue wagging. And he said only, quotes unquote, sick minds will blame him for the incident that played out in Parliament during the voting of a Speaker for Ghana's 8th Parliament. If you continue on page 3, he recalls, I know what he was saying when someone is
who is saying he's a master of
I know what they mean. That's General Mosquito. General Mosquito. Yeah, and so that's the hard response there. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos. But Opoku Gakpo, there was a meeting yesterday, high-powered, as we usually would say. Give us the backstory to this. What happened? This was closed door, but you picked up a few things.
We did. Essentially, a number of items were on the agenda. Which of the two sides would constitute majority and minority, who would sit at the right-hand side of the speaker. It became an issue on the 9th of 6th January, you recall. Those two issues, and as well, which of the two sides would chair the various committees. There appears to be a deadlock because the NPP is insisting them plus Femina should constitute majority, which would mean they should chair the various major committees and should sit on the right-hand side of the speaker. The NDC is insisting there is no majority, and so anyone can sit on the right side of the speaker. No one should be called majority side in the House, and the committee should be split in terms of chairmanship equally between the NDC and the NPP. The meeting couldn't resolve the issues. We gather there's another one that's been scheduled for today. Alban Bagbin chaired the meeting himself. The famous Cyril Insia, the Clerk of Parliament, was in that meeting as well as leaders on both sides. So we're waiting to see how things will unfold. One of the things we know the meeting agreed on was that Andra Marquesiama, the second Deputy Speaker and also MP for Femina, is expected to communicate officially to the Speaker which of the two sides he intends to sit. It's interesting that we managed to get to the premises, although this was a closed-door meeting, but essentially he refused to comment on the outcome of the meeting.
It had nothing to do with a ballot paper.
His team eventually walked
Okay, I see the majority chief whip there on the NPP side.
The NPP chief whip.
Exactly.
Oh, the NPP, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, interestingly, he says
well.
Okay, no, but also I was referring to the deputy up on your marking because
the deputy leader of the
NPP caucus. Thank you. It is. He wants to set the record straight. He wants the speaker to set the record straight on this whole majority-minority thing, doesn't he?
Precisely, and repeatedly, that's what they've all been asking for, that particularly on the NPP side, that those records should be set straight as quickly as possible. And Frank Anodompe, who you saw in your shot, has indicated in other interviews that by hook or crook, the NPP will cling on to the majority, all other things being equal. So it looks like, Parliament is actually resuming sitting on Friday.
Yes, sir.
Today is Wednesday. All these issues have to be resolved between today and tomorrow so that then when they come to the floor on Friday, then they get business going. One of the things you're expecting on Friday as well will be the establishment of a committee of selection chaired by the Speaker himself, which will then come up with the details of which MP should serve on which committees, including the appointment committee. And unless these details in terms of who should chair the committees are agreed on, very little can be done on Friday, because then we may see both sides trying to occupy the right-hand side of the speaker. Once those issues are
down to who gets into the chamber.
Joseph, listen. Do they carry their chairs when they leave the chamber?
No, you don't.
You?
You don't. The chairs, the chairs sitting there. But you recall what happened on the 9th of 6th January? There were name tags on the various seats with the name tags of the MPP on the right side of the speaker. And then we saw some of the NDC MPs take off the name tag.
Very important. Who plays the tax there? Who plays the tax there?
The office of the clerk.
Okay.
The office of the clerk. So the clerk's office dispatches its staff to go put the necessary tags in the various. So then you can conclude
Friday will be interesting.
At the level of the office of the clerk, that decision had been taken that the MPP should be on the right-hand side. And that was Cyril Nsia in your shot there. He was very much active in the meeting.
Very famous clerk. Okay. All right. Now the pressure has gone down a bit. Oh, but just on the issue of the majority-minority, at the One Ghana lecture series, the speaker, Kofi Abochi, had something to say on this specific thing. The reason these two parties continue to battle this little issue.
Yes, he says the NDC side, they want to take control of parliaments, to use their powers to frustrate government, while government, on the other hand, wants to take control of parliament in order to push through its agenda without any opposition. He said that's the only thing that could explain the battle for...
I guess what is missing when he was talking, I was listening, is the people. The people were lost. It's just the interest of both sides. By the way, thank you guys for joining me for the review, for holding it down. But do you miss the National Science and Maths quiz?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Gapo, do you?
I've run out of data, so I think I should...
No, you haven't. I
so
have asked permission from the clerk. Mr. Cyril, what's his other name?
Intia.
Oh, the gods are not the gods with the small g's. They are working against me, but the big G God is with me. So listen, I have permission from the clerk of parliament, the senior man. So Opoku Gapo, stay there. This is actually from the junior graphic. I'm picking it from the daily graphic, but it's talking about the junior graphic. So these are for tiny little boys and girls.
It's in the daily graphic. It's not for tiny little.
It's on mathematics. Listen carefully. A woman bought 210 oranges for 750 Ghana cedis. She sold all of them at 3 for 15 Ghana pesos. Find A, total selling prices of the oranges, and 2, percentage profits. Clock.
It's very easy. I need a pen and a jotter. I'll just...
Oh, you have the calculator. I see you with the 210.
I don't have a pen and a jotter. My jotter is not here.
Cost price for the oranges, 210. Selling price, you know what to do to get it.
The question again.
A woman bought...
question again,
A woman bought 210 oranges for 750 Ghana cedis. She sold all of them at 3 for 15 Ghana pesos. Opoku Gapo, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, continue. You are not done, right?
Oh, I'm done. It's just that. The question is total selling price of the oranges. Find that. Find the total selling price of the oranges. Cost
it's
price.
1 cedi 50 pesos.
Is what?
1 cedi 50 pesos.
1 cedi 50 pesos. How did you arrive at that?
Okay. No, it's a very simple mathematics. So then, if each of them...
No. Patrick, take it off. Patrick, take it off. Okay, it's okay. Hey, you said what?
If each of them was actually... if each of them was actually 15 pesos. And, there were 3 of them, then that gives you 450 cedis as the total selling price as far as all of your oranges are concerned. You divide it by the lowest denominator and multiply it by the highest numerator, and then it gives you 1 cedi 50.
It gives me what?
1 cedi 50 pesos.
Okay. Final answer? 1 cedi 50 pesos.
Selling price.
Yes, selling price.
10 cedi 50 pesos.
How do you arrive at that?
Oh, I have to show working. I need a pen and jot. I see that right or wrong. Just tell me. I mean,
let's put the correct. Let's put the work on the page. And I'm not going to say if you're right or wrong because I'll have you guys tomorrow.
So the selling price is 10.50. Right? It's 10.50. Yeah.
Exactly what I said. Exactly what I said.
Okay,
exactly
guys, listen.
10 to the 50%.
Opoko Gakpo, have a beautiful day today and give us all the backstories from today's meeting, okay? We'll see you tomorrow here on the AM show.
Cheers. Cheers.
Akable, thanks a lot. Enjoy the day.